I'll start with a review for this book, The Decadent Society. I wrote this book 3 out of 5. It has some good points in the book, definitely, but I felt as he didn't wrote it to the wide general public. There is some parts that were kind of, I would say, boring for me at least, and it would be more interesting for people who are heavily invested in politics or use a lot of jargon from political science and such. So I felt like it's not necessarily for the general audience, so many parts that were not engaging for me at least. If you're really into politics, could be more interested in this. Besides, I didn't agree with some of his ideas. One thing I wrote here that the book feels like a long opinion piece, and obviously opinion pieces based on his ideas and leaps, and everything is like, I felt like everything is built on top of other premises, so premise on premise, and it's kind of like a little tower he built there. And I think some of the levels, if you may, of that, some of the stories in the tower are not very stable. So I think the whole tower is not very stable in general. So some of the ideas there were not convincing, I would say. Let's see the notes. After the moon mission, society's progress has been stagnated. That's the main, one of the ideas there. The main idea is that after the moon mission, which was a great progress, after that, we were in a constant stagnation. Decadent means society that is stagnated and stop progressing. That's the decadent in general, how he defined it. Decadent is when we stop progressing and there is a stagnation. Many of the new startups have no future. There's also stagnation in startups because they have no future. Many of them collapsing, going into bankruptcy, and not able to live to their dreams. Innovations in recent years haven't made significant changes like the ones prior. They had many innovations, but they didn't made a significant change in everyone's life, like electricity and other aircrafts and things like that. Advances in medicine are not mass inventions, rather only for a small amount of the population. So it used to be that medications and medicine were made breakthroughs that helped the wide population, but now it's less and less, and most of new medicine are for increasingly smaller amount of the population that it actually helps or direct towards. Rate of children is going down in the developed world as older population can be taken care of and investment for them has increased. The rate of children, that's one of the reasons people having children, so they would take care of them afterwards. And as older population can take care of themselves, there is people that help them, or there is many innovations that help them. They don't need children as much, and there is less children in general. And also the investment for them, for the older population, has increased also. Lower rates of children cannot be explained by religious motives. Patriotic motives can explain things better. So in places that when religion cannot explain, because some religious countries, or there is more bigger parts of the country that are religious, they have higher rates, but it's not the only thing, because some places, even with higher rates of religious people, they still don't have much higher birth rate. So the best way to explain this, or places that have the higher birth rates usually are more patriotic. It's considered patriotic, and therefore, like Israel, I think it brings the idea, or the example of Israel, that they are religious, but even among the secular community, they have higher rates of children. And the idea there is that it's because of patriotism. Older population cause stagnation as older people do not take risk and are less innovative. The older the population gets, the more stagnation it becomes, basically, because innovation, older people are less innovative and they also take less risk because it makes sense because they're trying to be more conserved and try to maintain what they already have. To overcome low fertility rates, some countries defer to immigration, which cause its own problems, some of which give the rise of populist voice. What happened is there is low rates in the West, which they need to compensate for by immigrants, but that caused its own problems, many problems, and that's one of the reasons, at least according to the author, what gave a rise to Trump, Johnson, and other populist voices in Europe. Our government is in stagnation as they aren't able to pass important laws. There's also stagnation in government. There are more fighting between the parties and less writing new laws. In terms of movies, politics, ideologies, there is barely any change as we keep repeating what was done before. So according to the author, there is less and less innovation, basically. There is also stagnation in politics, ideologies, movies, and all that. We just keep repeating the same thing. There is no much new stuff. The new and popular drugs today, such as marijuana and opiates, are downers and less likely to cause trouble over alcohol. I think that's one of the ideas that even there is some stagnation. There is less and less power, or not power, but there's less motive for people to actually do something. And we can also see that in the drugs people use, there are more downers rather than uppers. People prefer just staying down, stay low, and then not do much. People prefer to engage in fighting virtual wars rather than engage in a civil war. This is one of his points, that even though it sounds like we are more polarized and people are becoming more and more angry with each other, the chances of civil war is increasingly low because people are more interested just to fight online and not really do something, actively do something. And he has some data to support it. Side note, the book is a long opinion piece, so it's just long opinion, and there's a lot of opinions there. There's a lot of leaps he made, some more true than the others, but not all of them felt like the right leaps for me, at least. In my opinion, I even thought some of them were true. Social media is enabling everyone to police everyone, which could be good and bad at the same time, because everyone is seeing what everyone else is doing, and there is more policing that way. The rising population in Africa could pose a threat to Europe because there is more immigration. The question would they be able to incorporate them into the population or into their own countries? Usually the answer is no, because most countries were not able to do so, and that's going to cause some problems. Side note, the fact that society is in stagnation does not follow that we are doomed or that is a problem. So that's another leap right there, which I didn't fully agree with. He said, like, even if we agree with which I agree, there is stagnation in society. We definitely have less innovation than recent years, but I think that makes sense because you cannot always have major breakthroughs. That's kind of like ups and downs. You can't maintain exponential growth for a long time, and there is always some stagnation. But that does not follow that it's a serious problem and we're doomed, which kind of felt like that's what he's insinuating. So that's the last note, and again, that's 3 out of 5. There is some interesting parts in there. I would not necessarily recommend this, Unless you're really interested in politics and political science, that would be more directed to you, so that will be more suited to you. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Thank you.